reposition this so we can sort of see what we're doing. So this goes around her neck. Don't mind me, just gonna safety pin this like so. All right, this is gonna go down and around her, and this goes around her back. Okay, so we want, next we're going to make a matching backpack for Waffles. Now this is something I've never done before. I wanted to make sure I recorded it the first time because I'm expecting it to be a pretty in-depth process and I don't want to do it more than once. So let's see here. I have these back pockets that I definitely want to utilize, but I want to make sure that they're up and down when they are laying across her back, not side to side. So I could have them together on one side like that, but that's going to be way too hot. Is I'm going to cut very close to the pocket itself because I want to use this butt seam here to go down her back, I think. We'll see. All right, so I'm going to cut this close to the seam so that she's just got like a strip that goes in between her front legs. Like so. That'll give her a lot more range of motion in her legs and shoulders. I don't want to cut all the way down because I don't want it to dig into her either if all of the pressure is being put against one short strip. I'm going to, God, I really hope for the best as I cut a curve out of the butt of these pants. Okay, so now this goes up like so. Waffles, what you doing, baby? Then her leg should be able to come through here. And then this will start wrapping around her body. So I'll go ahead and cut this outside seam off. I can use that as a waistband for another top or something. Just go ahead and fold this in half so that I can sort of brace what I did on the other side and make sure that I've got things even. Now, it's not going to be able to be perfectly even because apparently I cut the pockets out differently. Okay, so let's just make this curve around where her leg would go and come back up to the top like we did with this. I could use that. Cool. Let's set that aside too. So now I've got these two pockets cut out. Those are going to go along the sides of her body to carry some goodies in on our adventures. Okay, so far I've decided that the space that we didn't use above the pocket is going to go around her neck. I don't think that that's going to be enough space to go all the way around her neck, so I am going to need to extend that with either our fabric swatches or with more denim. Either way, I'm not super worried about it right now because we've got tons of fabric still to work with. So I've decided this is going to go around her neck and this is going to go down her chest. I need to measure the dog. Now, I don't want to keep interrupting her nap without some sort of reinforcement. So I got some treats that she picked out at the local place. So now, Waffles, I need you to stand. Okay, see me? Good girl, wait. Good wait. Okay, so let's see. Go down where it was 12 inches. No, stay. 12 inches only goes to here. That's fine. So right here, we want to measure all the way around her. definitely more than 12 inches. So, okay, that's 26 inches. Let's measure this gap area here. Okay, 26 plus 8. Okay, so 26 plus 8 inches. I'm sorry for making you yawn, honey. Here's a treat. 26 plus 8 is 14, carry the 134. So 12 inches brings us right down here in the same, where the crotch is. So that's where our backpack is going to end, on the bottom at least. So that's actually perfect because I can cut on this side of the seam and not have to worry about hemming. Easiest way to do this would be to come down along this zipper here. I've got that little guy hanging there, so I can just cut him off. There we go. Set that aside to be salvaged if I so choose later. Okay, so after everything is hemmed and stitched and everything, we want the back side of our harness to be 34 inches across. So then that means that we want it to be at least 36 inches to give us enough room to play. So 36 divided by 2 is 15 plus 3, which is 18. Yeah, that is yours. So I'm going to measure from the center seam out 18 inches on both sides. 18 right here. Okay, so that actually... Yeah, Mama got you. That's right, yeah. Can you sit? Oh, that's so nice. Stay. Good, stay. Sorry, baby, not that kind of. Good girl. Stay just like that, okay? All right. So down here, we're going to need to trim so that she's still got a lot of space in her elbows. And let's see here. I think that that is actually the width that I want. So come this way, baby. So I'm just going to need to trim off like this. And then do that on the other side too. This way, baby. Good girl, you being so patient. Not yet. Oh, well, that's actually perfect, honey. Come here. You trust your mama? Okay, so I folded it over on both sides. I'm going to give her her treat because she is just about out of patience. And then we'll get this off, holding our folds in place so that we don't lose them. Just like so. Okay, so I draped this over Waffles. I want to make sure that I safety pin the folds that I decided were going to be the end of the backpack on the back. Safety pin these folds down. This curve for her leg needed to be deepened. So we're going to make this curve bigger. Make it go all the way down to the seam here. And then back up. So just like that. And really, I'm just trimming excess fabric out of the way so that it doesn't get caught up in anything else that we do when we're doing our design. Okay, so now this wraps around her. So 18 inches is here. So that's where her spine should land. So if I bring it up to where I have these cuts kind of already started, that should give me 5 inches of overlap, which I think is going to make it more, might make it more comfortable, but we're going to see. I'm definitely going to cut this off. Let's take a look here. Put this side out of my way. I need to measure here and see where 18 inches lands. Measure from... Okay. So now what I think I want to do is I'm going to use this as a strap. It's going to come through the top where her spine is. And I think what that will allow me to do is make it adjustable because I can have multiple points of entry. So let's measure where our 18 inches is. Okay, so 18 inches is right here. Okay, so this is definitely, let's go ahead and mark it with a safety pin. Well, I think for a second. Got to be very careful not to make it too big. Okay, there we go. So what is that, 1 inch? Probably about 3/4. Oh, I have a tape measure here. Yep, 3/4 of an inch. So let's see where 18 inches was here, because I don't want the fabric to be gathering like that. Okay, so 18 inches, good girl, is right here. So where I expect it to meet at the top, I want this to be thinner. Hang on, sweetheart, I'm coming. Gonna use my handy dandy buttonholes here. So now this is kind of thin here. Let's see, am I going to be able to get the buttonhole on there? Yeah, I can do it. I want to make it the buttonhole as close as I can to the seam so that there isn't as much where it's fraying. If I want, it really did just barely fit right around her neck, so I want to give it just a few inches of leeway. I'm going to fold this in half, right sides together, and roll this seam over. It's easier to do against a hard surface. And once it's rolled over so that the raw seam is inside, I'm going to safety pin that in place. Go ahead and pin everything, and then we'll sew it when we're ready. Okay, so now that I have this sealed the way that it will be when it's on her, I'm going to go ahead and safety pin it in place. Safety pin the edges together. I'll probably end up putting Velcro or something on this to keep it steady. This goes under her. Okay. So if it's like this on her when she stands, and it'll be like this when she sits or jumps or anything like that where it's not so steady. So I think that that's, we want to have the pockets at a little bit of an angle. To this side. Just sort of tack it down with these safety pins in the four corners. I'm really hoping for the best here. I feel the same way right now making this as I did last summer when I made my first denim bikini. So hopefully it turns out that well. And then we'll do the same thing on the other side with the other pocket. This one's not going to be as high. we'll tuck it underneath that fold there a little bit, because I don't want it to be too low to where it's like down on her stomach, but I don't want it to be too high where this thing's all the way covering it up. Okay, so now this is folded and rolled on all four sides. So I'm gonna go ahead and fasten it to where I want it to eventually be sitting on this backpack. Okay, so like that. We've got our cover in here for safekeeping, cover in there for safekeeping, and our pockets where we want them to be. So now all I need to do is sew everything in place and figure out what I'm going to do for fasteners for her collar area. Okay, so I think I figured out where I'm going to put my boning. We've got this flap that overlaps on the other side of our backpack, so I'm going to fold that over so that I can create a couple spots to put this wire that we're using for boning in there. So fold this over. That'll remind me to put the wire in there. Okay, I gotta look for my wire cutters. Okay, so the ones that go underneath the pockets aren't going to be any longer than like this corner here. So I'm going to measure the ones that are going to go under the pockets by going corner to corner like that. All right, so that's plenty of room. So I'm going to do 4 that are that size. So we'll set those aside for right now. And then we're going to do 2 that are this long length here. So we will go ahead and pull this all the way out. We are going to end up trimming these wires down a little bit so that they fit inside our casing, but you can always trim excess off. You cannot add extra length on. There's one and one. Now when I'm stitching the casing that goes underneath the pockets, this one I don't really have to worry about. I've already got it safety pinned in place. I'm just going to stitch across the bottom and then do 1 more row of stitching right above that one. That way I've got sort of like a barrier against fray. And then I'm going to stitch 1 line in the middle, and that will create 2 separate casings for us to slide these into. Now for the pocket, I'm going to turn it over here. Just want a safety pin. I've got my hand inside the pocket so that I don't go all the way through. I just want to safety pin the middle together. So for the wiring that goes underneath the pocket, I'm going to put my hand in the pocket so that I don't accidentally sew all the way through and then sew the pocket closed. I'm going to pin right down the middle, the diagonal that connects both corners. This will create a center line for me to sort of work around, while also keeping the pocket fastened securely to the material. So now I've got this diagonal pinned here. So when I do my stitching, I'm going to stitch right down this line here, and then I'm going to do a row of stitching here and a row of stitching here, about no more than a ½ inch on either side. And then that is what the casing that we're going to slip our boning into. Well, I say boning, but we used wire, like so, and then that'll make it stiff and be able to mold to her body while staying completely spread out and comfortable for her. So I'm going to go ahead and start stitching all of this, and then I will be back when it's time to slip our boning in. Okay, so I got Waffles back pocket stitched on here, and I got it stitched almost all the way around. I left a gap at the, 2 gaps actually, at the top so that we can slide our wires in. But other than that, we have it stitched all the way around, and we also have it stitched down the sides. I reinforced extra around the corners and around the edges and corners of where we're going to be sliding these wires. So I have no idea where I put my needle nose pliers. Fortunately, I already have my wires cut for this pocket. I'm just really hoping that I can use these scissors to twist them around themselves. So, let's see here. Oh, okay, so this is gonna work. And then, can I close it? Oh, okay, well that kind of hurt me. There you go. Okay, come on, close. Can't really close it very easily. Will that be enough? I mean, I can definitely make that sort of spiral thing. Let's see if that'll be enough to push it into here. Where did I put that corner anyway? Should be a spot here somewhere where I can fit it through. So which one, what am I doing here? Okay, so I'm trying to get in this casing. Oh, cool, I can see it. I can see it going down. Okay, so that's gonna work. So I'm gonna go ahead and twist the top part over too. Much easier to do this with the pliers. Especially since I seem to have some extra space here. That's okay. Actually, that might be for the best because I can bend this over like this and then push it the rest of the way through. There we go. So to connect our vest or backpack or whatever it is that we're making in front of Waffles, I'm going to have a series of buttons so that I can keep it adjustable. So I'm going to salvage the cuff off of this here shirt. And then you can see I did that with the other side too. So let's go ahead, make this a little bit more even. So then I'll just put this one overlapping it. I could hem them together so that there's no fray, but this is a patchwork project and I'm not super worried about it because it's definitely not going to fray far down enough to cause a problem. So I'll pin those together so that I remember to do that on that side. And then on the other side where it connects, I took another buttonhole from the collar of that same shirt. And I'm going to go ahead and pin it right on here, and then I will cut through on this side just a little bit so that I've got plenty of room to get that button through, and then I can overlap those holes and not have to hem that buttonhole quite as much as I would have. So then that buttonhole will end up being like this one. So now we need some pocket covers here. I'm going to make one for the denim side here out of this material. We've got it all folded over and ready to be hemmed. We just need to stitch down these sides. So we'll go ahead, good girl Waffles, knot this up. And then we're going to start a little bit away from the edge and go backwards Oops. Forgot I had that really long. So, and then we will just stitch all the way down to the end. All the way down to the end. Make sure we backtrack a little bit. Just super secure it. And then we'll make a little knot right here. And then we'll go ahead and do the same thing on this side. Backtrack a little. Pull through. And go all the way down this side. Moving my needle in and out. Make sure we backtrack a little bit. Get it nice and secure. And then we'll make a knot. Going in that little stitch there. Go in it again. And then we're going to go through this loop. Now, when we take our safety pins out, this guy right side out. So now we have a little pocket cover. Set my needle aside there. So this will go over top of this pocket here. We're going to fold the sides in and then down so that we don't have any raw edges. And then we'll stitch it across here so that it looks like this one. Okay, so for this pocket cover, I cut these buttons off of the side of this shirt here. So we're gonna go ahead and let's see here. It's a little bit big, so I'm gonna trim down closer to the edges of the buttons. All right. And then I'm going to roll the back over itself so that there's no fray. And we'll pin it right to the top of this pocket right here. Not to the pocket, but right above it so that you can still reach in the pocket. And then after we stitch this in place, it will look, oh, that one's not stitched in place either. All right, so we just about finished Waffles' backpack or vest or whatever we're, cargo jacket, whatever this is. So we are gonna go ahead and add the neck strap and try it on her. Good girl, Waffles. Let's see, where did I put your treats? Here they are. To get these ready. We don't want to put strange things on a puppy without having lots of treats handy. So I cut 2 slits on either side of this seam that we are using for her collar, if you will. And I'm going to push one side through on one side and pull it back through on the other side. And then I'm going to make sure that the casing that we are using is flat because we don't want it to be twisted and not be comfortable for her. And then we're going to do the same thing on the other side. Good girl. All right, and then I also add in some buttons at the bottom so that our buttonhole that we made that goes over her back will have a spot to connect. Waffles, are you ready? Come. Good girl. Stand. Good stand. Good stand. No. Good stand. Good stand. Alright, that over her. Give her some treats for putting her head in without a fuss. Tie this around her neck. Maybe make a little half bow there. Nice and cute. Alright, step up. Good girl. Over here. Good girl. And then we're going to take our strap here and feed it through this hole that we made right above our pocket. Or rather, we put our pocket right above that hole. I'm wondering if I should have gone this way. Yeah, I kind of feel like I should have put those buttons on the other side because it would hold this more steady. I might redo that. But for right now, this is how it's designed. This guy pulls over. Good girl, stay. And buttons underneath here. If I can see what I'm doing, I probably should have put my hair back when I started doing this. Okay, there we go. Why is this guy not wanting to go in the buttonhole? There you go. Alright, now Waffles, turn. Good girl. And then for this front side, we've got buttons here and a buttonhole on this side, so we're just going to button it right in front of her chest, make sure that it's nice and loose so she's got plenty of room. And then we've got plenty of room, nice and loose next to her shoulders, so she's got plenty of room for movement there. It's nice and stiff back here. Yeah. She can comfortably move around. Come over here, baby. Good girl. There's no restriction in her movement. Come here. Waffles, come. She's more interested in my camera and in exploring around her than getting this strange thing off of her, which is always a good sign. Over here, baby. Good girl, come back to me. Good girl, sit. Good puppy. Alright, so that is our doggy backpack. We've got all of these fun pockets to stash little goodies in. And then they all button closed. Of course, you can leave them unbuttoned. It's not going to hurt anything. But if you're actually going to be utilizing it to go on an adventure, especially in the woods, then we want those pockets to be able to seal. So I think that this one could hold maybe your ball. Yeah. And maybe this one could hold your cookies. Yeah. And let's see, what could...
Thank you so much for watching. Please like and subscribe below. It really helps the channel out a lot. It helps me out a lot. Waffles appreciates it. Thank you. We'll see you next time.
So we're going to go ahead and make a casing. This one is going to be for a strap for the front of Waffles' vest backpack thing. I've got a really long thread here because I'm making kind of a longer casing and I don't want to be knotting it multiple times during it. Now the one downside to doing this is that sometimes you can get your thread knotted up really easily. We're going to try to avoid that though. So we'll start about an inch in. Good girl, down. We're going to backtrack towards the end a little bit. Grab our loop so that we don't knot our thread because it's really long. And then we're going to loop around the outside so that it helps prevent that from fraying at all. All right. Nice wide motions, again helping our thread not get knotted and thereby defeating the purpose of having really long thread to begin with. We want to keep this loop open, otherwise it's going to twist on itself and knot up. Now another thing I'm going to do to make it go a little faster is I'm going to weave the thread across my needle like so that I don't have to go in and out every single time I want to make a stitch. All right, make sure we hold that loop open. Okay, so we made a casing for a strap for Waffles that we need to turn right side out. This one is for her vest backpack thing that we're working on, but we also use these for our bikinis, and we used them for her bandanas and our matching scrunchies as well, so it's a useful skill to have. We're going to go ahead and put this safety pin into the fabric as close to the seam as we can so that we don't have two chunks that are kind of big. And then we'll flip it into the casing like that. And then we can sort of shove the end in after it. Then when we push the safety pin through and pull the fabric over top, it's going to start turning right side out. The beginning is always the hardest because it's still kind of figuring out which direction it's going. There we go. Now we just slide it through, pull. Sometimes it gets bunched up at the top and you just kind of have to pick the little creases out. There you go. Got a little overzealous. There we go. Don't get too excited, Daisy. There we go. And now we've got it all right side out.